Welcome back to another episode of Off the Shelf, a book talk with book lovers. I'm Elizabeth Nelson here once again with Kay Johnson. And Kay, what have you been reading this time?
Well, you know, when it came to the new year, I decided I needed to do a resolution.
Yes.
And I don't know why, because I never follow them. But I just feel I should. But this year I opted for something different. I opted for making the perfect loaf of bread. I have never been able to make a decent loaf of bread. And it really offended me because it's something people who are uneducated, people who have disabilities, people who have never cooked before, all sorts of people can make good bread. Why can't I make good bread?
I have eaten bread you have made. It has been good. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Well,
you have made French baguettes. They were amazing.
Well,
you have cooked for me my entire life, Kay. You can make good bread.
That's true. Well, I just thought it was interesting that there's a cookbook called the Sullivan Street Bakery Cookbook by Jim Leahy. And Jim Leahy owns a bakery in New York City. And in 2006, the New York Times ran his recipe for no-knead bread.
Yes.
And it has been the most popular recipe they have ever run. And they had over 16,000 comments. And Mark Bittman took the recipe and adapted it but it's 3 cups of flour, 1/4 of a cup of yeast, 1/4 of a cup of salt, but you can add more, like up to half, I think, and water, and 1 5/8 cups of water. You stir it up. It's like real shaggy and loose. You cover it for 24 hours. You let it rise again, and you cook it in like a cast iron oven. Okay. And it turns out to be a perfect European bowl. And if you follow Clay Coyote or Tom Wirt's New Clay, both of them make bread bakers. So I asked Tom about it one day, and he said he's been making them since the recipe was. Okay. And so I bought one because I thought, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right. And I could say with complete pride that my loaf did turn out.
Yay.
And Mother called and wanted to know if it tasted good. She said, "You never said if it was good."
Just that it turned out?
Yes. I even had a picture of buttered breads I sent.
Yeah.
Oh, well. So anyway, if you're interested in learning how to bake bread that won't drive you crazy or wear you out from kneading, the Sullivan Street Bakery Cookbook by Jim Leahy is a book you want to grab.
Well, and people have certainly been making bread since everything locked down. The fact that, like we were talking with Liz about, you couldn't find flour for
or yeast.
3 months.
Yeah, yeast you couldn't find anywhere either. I mean, I don't know. No.
Well, it was like everybody was posting that on like Facebook or Instagram. Look at this loaf of bread I made, and I'm like, you're all killing me. I can't make this.
But you know, I think you could if you use gluten-free flour.
Yeah, depending on the flour you use.
Because you can use cup for cup. There's one that's actually called that. Yeah. But Tom actually sent me a recipe for gluten-free that's been adapted, so I could send that to you.
You could.
Because I thought you could do this, because you're the kind of person who would do this.
Yes, I'm also the kind of person who's stuck at home with her children all day and needs things to do.
Maybe they would like to make bread.
Archie would like to play with it until it got on his fingers, and then he would probably look at it like, what is this? And Alex would want to use the mixer, but probably would not eat it because he's that kind of child.
He actually, though, has done very well with the pizza kits from Papa Murphy.
Oh, yeah. He loves the process, like helping and putting everything together. Sometimes he's just not always wanting to try the final product.
Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
Because that's really the highlight of the whole purpose.
Yeah. So I mean, it's been interesting, especially since he's more open to helping and trying new things and different products since he started school. And that kind of piece, which has been kind of fun but they made applesauce in school, and he wouldn't try the applesauce. He would help make the applesauce, but he would not try the applesauce.
Really?
Yes. He would help make the hot chocolate, but he would not try the hot chocolate. And I said, I don't know for sure if you are my son, because I love hot chocolate, and I don't know why you won't try it.
With marshmallows.
But he would rather have water with his sugar cookie than hot chocolate.
And Archie, bless his heart, he's going to go for the...
Oh, he will eat anything.
He'll go with the chocolate.
Yeah. That's what's been interesting, too, is that because both Tom's been reading more this new year, and Alex will read, and so Archie's figured out picking up the book and looking and kind of turning the pages, which has been kind of fun to see, and hasn't quite figured out what the whole point of it is. Like, he'll open and be like, kind of look at you like, okay, I have the book.
Maybe you should give him a cookbook.
But I could, yeah. There's a series of books for kids. Let me look it up here quick. And they're interactive books that you cook with. That they give you like step-by-step recipes and ingredients. Alex has the one that's pizza. And so it tells you all the ingredients you need for pizza, and then as you turn the pages, you can make the spoon stir, and you can knead the bread and turn
that's cool. Are they neat?
Turn the oven on. But yeah, so they're by Lottie Ninneman, and there's one on pizza, there's one on pancakes, tacos, cookies, and they all, so like you turn the pages and you can make the stuff pour, or open the oven. You can pull out a piece of pizza like you're going to eat it, and it talks all about the different ingredients you can put on it. And that he really likes. And he got that, I think, about 2 years ago, and he still likes to open it and go through and make it all. But so with the different recipes, it's making the different items.
Okay.
So I've actually he has the pizza one, and I have the other ones. I've had them on like his ongoing wish list, so that when everybody asks me what my children want for gifts, I can be like, here's their Amazon list. Please don't ask. Please don't ask me these questions. I can't remember what I need 2 days later. But those have been really fun, and it's kind of interesting to see what books with Alex, like that we've read, he wants to reread over and over again, and which ones he doesn't. Because there's some like you read once and then he's done, and he's like, we don't have to look at that book again.
Do you give them away then?
Some of them, I've just donated to the library. A lot of, like, as he kind of ages out of books, I've started moving them into Archie's room.
Oh, sure.
Because, like, also, like, all of the little board books he used to read, we've got those in Archie's room now, and now sometimes we're starting to try to read to Archie now at bedtime. But generally, Archie, because he's so go all day, you put him in his little sleepy blanket, hold him on your lap, and he just sort of tips his head back and passes out on you. So you can't always keep him awake long enough to have him read. But Alex is really enjoying books, and so that's kind of fun. And it's fun to, we have a set of Beatrix Potter books that were Tom's. Mm-hmm. And so reading some of those through, because some of Beatrix Potter I was familiar with, but there are some that I wasn't quite as familiar with, so those have been kind of interesting. And some of them are very wordy, and you're like, these were written for children in the early 1900s in England, and not for my child.
Kids were smarter then, I think.
The phrasing is kind of interesting sometimes. You're like, I don't even know what this is, but we'll just talk about it for a while.
Well, they tend to be very wordy.
Yes.
And that's something we're not typically accustomed to.
Well, and it's interesting because I think we have 3 different versions of Peter Rabbit. And if he's going to pick the one to look at, he picks the one with the least amount of words. With the pictures.
Yes.
So that I can understand. But it's interesting to see him try to piece together what's happening with the picture and the actual book.
Does he like Winnie the Pooh?
Alex? Yes. Yes. He and Tom read Winnie the Pooh. He has a copy of it that Jim Nelson bought his dad bought when he was a baby and read to him. And so then Tom read out of the same book to Alex.
Oh, that's fun.
I said, yes, and now you have to read them again with Archie when Archie gets that age. But yeah, he and Tom have read Winnie the Pooh, and they finished Charlotte's Web, and now they're trying to figure out a different chapter book to start on. But yeah, I'm going to have more readers, dag nabbit, whether I got to do it myself or what. They're going to like to read.
It's a wonderful gift to pass on to people, I think.
It is. What else have you been reading?
Well, I am going to start reading. Well, I'm actually starting to read 3 books. And the first one is Move, which I mentioned before, by Carolyn Williams, which is about the movement brain connection. Yes. Then I have a new one called 11 Pipers Piping. And the author, which is, let's see, C.C. Benton, I think. I can't quite...
M.C. Beaton?
Yeah, started with 12 12, 11, 10, and then never wrote anymore. And yeah, I don't, and I should look up, maybe they died or something. But the 11 Pipers Piping, the protagonist is a pastor in an English town or Scottish town. And anyway, he is, last name is Christmas. And so this one starts out with his housekeeper. His wife has died, and he has children, and his housekeeper's writing to her mother. And she writes every day to her mother. And so she tells about what he's doing and stuff. And so there's a storm coming, a blizzard. So she's telling her mother they're getting ready, and he has to go. He did a wedding, but he didn't stay for the reception. Now he's got to go to the Robert Burns dinner. And so we'll see who gets bumped off, but someone will, I can assure you.
And so is he the one that solves everything?
I think so. Okay. I'm not 100% sure because I've read all three of these years and years and years ago. So they're not new books, but I don't remember, so I have to reread them.
Okay.
And then the third book I might read is Subhuman.
Is this a zombie book?
No. I'm not reading zombie books right now. This is Michael McBride is a writer of science fiction.
Okay. And
this one is about. It's after World War II, and apparently the Nazis had a secret base in Antarctica, and so this group of like American commandos goes to figure it out. You know what's there. And apparently they must have created something that's been unleashed. And so they have to try and figure out how they're going to catch this thing, the subhuman. And so we'll see.
It's one of those things where you're like, I understand that Nazis are always a bad thing, especially in these kind of books. But it's Antarctica. It's cold. Why not just leave it?
Yeah, really.
It's bad news because the Nazis are involved already. Just lock the door and back away.
Yeah, I think that would probably, because they'd freeze.
But I mean, that's like, well, it is the Alien versus Predator takes place in Antarctica, down that whole line.
So this Subhuman one is actually got really good ratings because it's really like written in the legit form. Like this is like really normal. And but he does have a series of 10 books about zombies, but I have not broken down to read them yet. 10 is sort of a big commitment.
If you were gonna pick a sci-fi horror creature, are zombies your favorite to read about?
Ooh, that's a tough one because Stephen King's Salem's Lot is with the vampires. Man, they are making a new movie. I can't even imagine how bad it'll be. I won't be able to see it, of course.
But you will.
I don't know. Maybe I can talk your mom into going.
You told me you weren't going to see the new Dark Shadows when it came out either, and you just went and saw that.
That was bad with Johnny Depp. That was bad. Really bad.
Yeah. No, I would say if I had to pick, I'd probably stick with the vampires and the werewolves. I don't like zombies.
The thing with zombies is, they're relentless. They don't sleep. They don't eat. They just... Well,
what is that? That sounds like the line from The Mummy. He will never eat. He will never sleep. He will never stop.
Yeah, that's pretty much what they are, and they are just such predators. And vampires, you sort of you don't really have a chance with them as much, but there's some hope that you could stake them during the day.
Unless they're sparkly, like in Twilight.
Yeah.
And they don't go anywhere.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. I made Tom watch Twilight the other night.
Did he hate it?
He was more amused by my reaction to it, I think, and how I was like, well, actually, in the book, he's like, can I just have the book? And I was like, well, first of all, I don't have them anymore because I gave them to somebody else to read. But second of all, no, because you would not actually read it. Because he has a habit of not finishing books.
Does he do audiobooks?
He probably would like them. Actually, for Christmas this year, Santa, I brought him a copy of It's a book that talks all about the making of The Office.
Okay, and he's a
that he is legit reading. And like, I came home the other night and he was sitting in bed reading, and the TV was off, and I was like, "Are we feeling okay? We're all good?" But he's like, "Yeah, I'm reading the book," and I was like, "You're reading? Are you going to
take a picture?"
it? I did. Every time I see him reading a book, I take a picture and I keep it because I think it's. And he's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I have to mark these monumental moments that you're reading a book." But no. So following the horror type thing, I finished a book by Carrie Maniscalco, Maniscalco, and she is one of James Patterson's little people that he co-writes
one of
with.
his author assistants.
His author assistants, who does everything. There was somebody that had a joke that James Patterson actually no longer exists, and he's all these other people writing as him. And I was like, I could see that. You know, he probably could kick the bucket, and they could just not tell anybody for like 20 years before they realized the writing had all changed. But he is also one of those writers that no matter what section you go in the library, there he is.
Yeah, it's really, I think James Patterson is an amazing person.
He has created quite the empire.
Yeah.
But she's written books with him before. Her books tend to be more young adult. So she had a series the first one was with her was Stalking Jack the Ripper, which this character, the main character in this series is, she's a girl she's a lord's daughter. Audrey's her name, but she wants to be a doctor or a coroner. And so that takes place and so then she has a line of books. I think there's like 3 or 4. And then she has a new series out, which is the Kingdom of the Wicked series, which I was very interested in. It's been getting a lot of hype on social media. TikTok people have been saying it's really great. And so this is a family of witches, and there are twin sisters, and the one sister is killed. And so the other one wants to find out what happened, and so she's going to summon a demon.
Bad idea.
Well, she doesn't just summon any demon. She summons one of the 7 princes of hell, Wrath.
Oh, of course,
which is going to turn out really well, Wrath. And so, but not only that, but he's not the only one showing up because his other brothers have also escaped. So you have envy running around and you have greed. And it sounds like it should be really, really interesting. And I finished the first book, and I honestly don't know if I'm going to finish the rest of the series.
Not good, huh?
No. And I really liked Stalking Jack the Ripper. And like the other ones, I think I might go back to that series because that one's like... in that series, it's like Stalking Jack the Ripper. Then there's one with Dracula, and so I think that might be more. But I don't know what it was about this, but I was like, this is like right up my alley. It's like demons and witches, and you got witch hunters, and I'm like, this should be all me. And I was like, oh, I'm so disappointed. And I got done with there have been a couple of books like that where Tom has come in and he's like, you look like you're going to like rip that book apart with your hands. And I'm like, I'm going to throw it. That's for darn sure when I get done with it. But he always tells me he's like, well, if you're reading on your phone, don't throw it. You can't break the phone. But so I was kind of disappointed with that one. But like I said, it's been getting a lot of hype. The second one is out. So there's like Kingdom of the Wicked, and then the next one is Kingdom of the Cursed, and then Kingdom of the Feared is the third one, which is coming out later this year. But I was kind of, like I said, I was kind of disappointed. I was really hoping it would be better. And like, I think it's more that if you're going to be working with James Patterson, I would have kind of a higher opinion of you because he can write so well when it's just him. But like in the other one, the 3 in this one are Stalking Jack the Ripper, Hunting Prince Dracula, and Escaping from Houdini.
Ooh, those
which all sound good. And I knew her name had sounded familiar until I picked up the book. And Becca's actually the one who told me about Kingdom of the Wicked. And she was like, have you heard anything about this book? And I read it and I said, Rebecca, don't read it. And she's like, why? I said, well, first of all, you don't read anything with vampires and fairies and any of that stuff. So that's why.
You know, when you talk about fairies and witches and all that, I read a book that I downloaded from Kindle Unlimited, and it was the first in a series called Murder at St Margaret by a gal named Lynn Morrison.
Okay.
and it takes place in Oxford, and the protagonist is a event planner, and she's hired by Oxford, the university, to put on events. And while she was growing up, her grandfather and her father both worked at the college as librarians, and her grandfather always told her stories about magic. So she gets a job, and she goes there, and right off the bat, this cat starts following her around, H. And so the previous woman who had the job left a note for her. And anyway, the cat is actually a dragon, and his name is Humphrey.
Oh.
And
sounds cute.
Yeah, and all because she has magic in her because of her grandfather. Father didn't have any. So she starts seeing all these people, and the pictures talk. And
oh, cool.
And it's a good, it's
what
good.
What was the name of that book?
It's called Murder at St Margaret.
Okay.
But it's kind of fun because she has to have, the cook gets killed. And
don't kill the cook.
No, don't kill the cook. And she has to have a gala at St. Margaret's, and she doesn't have a lot of time to plan it. And so what she does is she gets all the ghosts to, by holding a prop, they can solidify.
Oh. And
so she has a party with all ghosts, and they think it's actors, and they share the history of the university.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's a great.
I'm going to have to add this to my to-be read.
Yeah, you're going to like this.
All my to-be read stacks.
The great part is she gets the dead cook to do the food.
That kind of reminds me of, I can't think of her name now, the Enchanted Ink books.
Yes.
For those who aren't familiar, it's... You want to look up her name?
Yes,
and I'll
I will look
explain
it up really quick.
Enchanted Ink. The main character moves from a small town in Texas into
New York City.
And once she gets there, she finds out she has no
magic.
Shanna Swenson has no magic in her, and she gets a job working for a magic company as their, like, I'm going to call it their BS detector.
Yes.
She can see everything, but so, like, anybody who has an enchantment, like there's a Rod who works there, has this enchantment that makes him look really, really handsome, but really he has like acne and is kind of...
He's sort of a dirtball.
Yeah,
but he's a nice guy.
He's a dirtball with a heart of gold.
Yes, that's right.
We'll put it that way. And so she's trying to, and like nobody in New York, like there's magic carpets flying, but nobody looks up in New York, so nobody sees a magic carpet. And everybody in New York is a little strange anyway. So it's her. And then there's like 6 or 7 books.
There's actually 8.
Is there now? Okay.
And they're great. Talk about great titles. These are Once Upon a...
it's Enchanted Ink.
Yep.
There's...
Damsel Under Stress.
Don't Hex with Texas.
That's one of my favorites.
They've all got really great...
Much Ado About Magic.
Yes. And they're just all really good. And Owen is the really, really good-looking guy that could take over the world but doesn't realize he's too humble.
Yes. And yeah, they're great books. In fact, I think we all read them.
Yes. I don't think I finished the last couple, but I know I've read the first few.
Katie Chandler. That was who it is. Katie.
Yeah. So if you're looking for just light, fun reads, definitely check out Enchanted Ink.
Oh, yeah. And Shanna Swenson.
Yes.
SWENDSON is the author, and they're just really lovely books.
Quick reads, nothing
Fun.
Super dark. Well, I love in the one. There's one where she goes back home because it's not working out in New York,
Texas.
And she lives in this tiny little town, and all the crazy things start happening in Texas where there's not supposed to be any magic, or like her mother can't see. That doesn't work on her mom, and her mom comes to New York and starts commenting on people with wings and pointy ears, or when they go,
and no one knew her mother.
Yes. Or there's one book where they go to New York, and they're in New York and they go to Central Park and they're going to see if any of the frogs are actually men.
Her roommate's dating one.
Yes. Dates a guy who thought he was turned into a frog.
She kissed him and
turned back into a human.
Yes, and he was like a prince.
Yes. So that was, but they're just fun. As you can tell, we like fun whimsy.
No Quest for the Wicked, Much Ado About Magic, Enchanted Ever After, Kiss and Spell. Yeah, those are good. Those are good books.
Yeah, and we have reached the end of our time for this week. So if you've got anything else we need to read in this new year, reach out to us at our email, offtheshelfbooktalk@gmail.com, or our Instagram and Facebook, and we will see you next time.